Hello everyone, and welcome back to the second ever USG Spotlight. Today we have another great guest that I'm so excited to talk to. If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Sure. Hi, I'm Maya Rao. I'm currently serving as the president of the undergraduate student government. I think I might have just skipped ahead on one of Alex's questions, but I'm currently a senior here at Case from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I'm studying chemistry with minors in polymer engineering and English.
That's right, Maya here, very excited. Thank you so much for being with me. Obviously, as a student body president, you have so many big overarching kind of initiatives, which interest me a lot. So is there any, one that you're working on right now that, or even multiple you're working on right now, just
Sure.
What are you doing right now that's kind of that you're most passionate about?
Yeah, so I think a lot of my role actually kind of involves a lot of internal upkeep of the organization, making sure that the VPs and the internal positions on our executive committee feel supported and that they're able to kind of in turn support the representatives that make up the majority of our body. So a lot of my work ends up kind of being just meeting individually with people, making sure that everyone feels on track and feels able to complete their work, providing advice for initiative work when they need it. So that's kind of a large portion of my job. But then more externally, I do a lot liaising with administration, board of trustees, alumni, people like that. All the major stakeholders in our university are the people that I get to talk to and convey to them the student opinion so that they're able to sort of act on that. So kind of with that being the overarching description of my job, some of the more specific things that I'm doing that I've really enjoyed. I've been pretty involved with the all-gender bathroom task force recently. So that's something that our VP of D&I, Divya, has been heading up, and she's been doing a great job with. But I've enjoyed getting to sit on that committee. We've been working on auditing bathrooms, and I've been taking a lot of the final proposals and wording over to President Snyder to make sure that she can kind of sign off on them. So something that we recently had approved was that we made a list of selected single-room bathrooms on campus that could be converted to all-gender bathrooms with a simple signage change. And President Snyder agreed to funding the signage changes and thought that would be a really great way to improve inclusivity on our campus. So that's one specific initiative that I've been really excited about. Additionally, I've been working on some more large-scale advocacy projects. So one thing that we've talked a lot about in one of the FISCU committees that I sit on that I brought to the Board of Trustees was talking a little more about second-year housing. So although I haven't necessarily done any specific work on that, it's been something that I've been advocating for every step of the way when I get the opportunity to bring that up to people that are able to make that happen. So those are a couple things that I enjoy doing. Around the time that proposed changes to Title IX were coming up, I made sure that I was staying in touch with our Title IX office and that students were aware of kind of their rights and that they were able to access that when they needed to. So we did some work within USG on that too, and I was excited to head that up.
That's awesome. What I find really cool about your role is that there's just so many layers to it and there's so many different areas. I think a lot of people don't know what the student body president does, and it's kind of like a name or a title. So that's one of the reasons why I really wanted to have you on. Obviously, obviously the leader of USG is the student body president, but also it's just cool to learn about all the different elements and things you're doing, especially with other committees, like as you said, with diversity and inclusion, D&I.
And collaborative task forces. You get to meet a lot of people and see a very different side of the university that you may not have seen not in this role or not in the student government. So that's one of my favorite parts about it.
Yeah, and even though I've only been in student government for 3/4 of a year, I've already noticed that.
Yeah.
There are so many different elements to tap into here, and just you learn so much about the school, student orgs at the school, the people at the school.
Absolutely.
So I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it too.
You better.
I know. I'm sad to see it almost ending, so.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's been an almost 4-year journey for you now.
It has been full 4 years I've been in USG, so.
It's unbelievable. It's really cool to see how you kind of progressed through 4 years here and done so much.
Yeah.
Is there anything that either you've done or I guess even other people have done in your 4 years that sticks out to you most just through your whole history in CWRU USG?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite initiatives that I got to work on was the menstrual product and hygiene task force. So that was something that was assembled during my sophomore year with people from student organizations from all over. So RHA, the LGBT Center, representatives from the Women's Center, from student organizations that were concerned with this topic, and of course with USG. And so one of my proudest accomplishments in USG is being a co-author on that resolution, which we passed during my sophomore year when I was serving as a treasurer, which basically called for free and accessible menstrual products available to all of campus. And that work, along with the really hard work of the task force who went forward and advocated to all different corners of the university to get this to happen, resulted in the dispensers being installed in every single campus bathroom with free tampons and pads provided to students who need them. And so and not even just students, to community members, to other campus partners, to staff, faculty, etc. I think that was one of the most meaningful steps towards inclusivity we made, and I'm particularly always interested in women's reproductive rights and women's healthcare rights. So to me, this kind of tapped into a lot of what I was interested in, both kind of professionally down the line when I'm hoping to go to medical school, and as well as my work within USG, which is hopefully always to lift up people.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job of the latter, absolutely, I'll say. And then it's crazy. On my radio show, I brought on the vice presidents of public relations and finance, Marin and Sydney, and they said the same thing with in terms of what sticks out to them in their 4 years.
Yeah.
I think it's something that's so of the utmost importance and was absent on campus.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you were able to do that as just a sophomore.
Yeah, and I have to say, I was not the only person that worked on this. We had a lot of help with other people and other organizations, like I had mentioned, and I think that collaboration was really the heart of the project and what made it go through. The fact that administration saw that students from all corners of the university were coming together and saying, like, this is something we really need and really want, and they respected that and thought that was a great idea. So I thought that was kind of the power behind the project and why I was so excited to be a part of it.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Now I guess, now that we learned a lot about kind of what you're doing now and what you have done in USG, I always like to end on a more like personal note to learn, so all of you can learn more about her. and the more personal note is really, I'm wondering what USG has shown you about yourself most through your time here.
Yeah, so USG can be challenging at times. I think we all know that. But obviously it's rewarding in so many other ways. I think for me personally, my biggest takeaway from USG has been that leadership doesn't have like one formula or one style. There are a lot of different things that you can do or act or, portray that make you a leader. So I think that especially as a woman in a position that actually has only been held prior by 4 other women in the 28 years that we've been an organization on campus, and one of 2 women of color to hold the position, I've seen that the typical model of leadership, I think, is not something that people have stopped and redefined recently. A lot of the times, a lot of the main things associated with leadership are being, louder, having a loud voice, being like aggressive, but not in like a way that's like, aggression, more just I'm ready to like go out and get it and be very confident and be very bold. And I think that all those things are incredible qualities to have and can make someone a great leader, but I've also learned that that's not my personal leadership style, but knowing that each leadership style has ways that are valuable, has things that you can provide to an organization that are different than the person before you or the person that's after you. So knowing that you don't have to fit the mold of a typical leader in order to be a good leader, and that everyone has leadership abilities inside of them that all kind of uniquely come together and help the organization grow and thrive.
I love that. In any role, I think we all have to be true to ourselves.
Exactly.
Be unique to who we are, not try to fit a cliche, a stereotype of what something is.
And I think especially, like I said, a woman leadership, you see that typically men hold a lot of these positions, and a lot of those qualities tend to be associated with them. So even finding the balance between like, okay, what's like the difference between being like authoritative and being like bossy? What's the difference between being like outspoken or being like too loud, you know what I mean? And just kind of seeing like, what does that mean in relation to me? What does that mean in relation to gender stereotypes? And kind of looking to redefine like, what does it mean to be a leader, and coming to the conclusion that it can be anything. It just depends on what you bring to the role personally. Like you said, it's all about bringing you to the role and not bringing a set stereotype or a mold.
That's amazing, and good for you for setting the example. I love it.
Thanks, Alex.
Of course. So that was our second USG Spotlight. Maya, thank you so much for coming on once again.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. It was a pleasure. It was really interesting to learn about what you've done, and also kind of what it's meant to you and how you thought about and internalized being a leader and what that means to you so much. It's really cool to get into a person and learn things like that.
Yeah, it's been the experience of a lifetime. I will really miss it.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Well, anyways, thank you all so much for listening. We'll be sure to be back next week with a new guest so y'all can learn even more about USG. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.